Welcome back to Free Media. I'm Amber Duke.
And I'm Robby Soave. Well, FTC Commissioner Lina Khan yet again is defending her record of relentlessly going after big business. Here she is on 60 Minutes talking about the price of certain drugs.
On these inhalers, they cost $7 in France. The same exact inhaler is around $500 in the United States. Wow. Now, something's out of whack.
We agree.
Yeah.
So we took a close look at this, and we found that companies were listing patents for things like the inhaler cap or the strap on your inhaler. So nothing to do with the actual ingredients of the drug or the formulation or composition of the drug.
So this is an inhaler for asthma. Show us what the innovation was that they claimed allowed them to extend the patent.
So it's this strap that they listed a patent for, this little piece of plastic.
No.
So look, I find Lina Khan to be one of the most dangerous people in our government who is going after businesses on every level and is, I think, going to make the lives of consumers worse. I don't disagree with her, though, that do companies use patent law in ways that are abusive and ridiculous? I'm certain that they do. I absolutely support reforming patent law, intellectual property, to make it easier for other firms and companies to compete. The market, the capture, these are captures that is not occurring in a natural market, right? There's something, this is distorting the market with government incentives to arbitrarily cut off competition by saying, well, you can't sell something that resembles that. I agree, that's totally wrong, and that should be reformed. That's the government and policy side of this. That's not the markets failing. And then you talk about how it costs more in France for these, or it costs less in France. Okay, why don't we just buy our medicine from France? Oh, right, it's illegal to do so. It is illegal to transport drugs across international lines. This would easily solve the problem of them being, charging us higher prices. We could just buy them from there. But no, under US law, you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say my only pushback to that would be that we should do both, because we saw during COVID what happens in our supply chains when we are entirely reliant on foreign countries for particularly medical goods. Like, we were reliant on China for a lot of our personal protective equipment, and the supply chain obviously was so jacked up with them being ground zero for COVID that we weren't able to get a lot of those products that people needed. And when we did get them, they were incredibly cost prohibitive. There was a story I reported on early on in the pandemic where Italy had donated a bunch of their personal protective equipment to China to help them in the early days of COVID. And then when COVID hit Italy really particularly hard, because they have a very heavy elderly population, they asked China, hey, can we maybe get some of that back? We need it now. China actually sold them back the same products that Italy had donated. So there is...
Never let a good deed go unpunished.
Right, exactly. So there is a national security concern to getting everything abroad, but I don't see any reason why you can't supplement what you're making in the US with cheaper foreign goods. But although I would suggest that it's probably cheaper in Europe because of their healthcare system and not because it's cheaper to manufacture.
Well, I think it's cheaper because they're willing, it's the price that people are willing to pay is less here. We're a wealthier society, so we're willing to pay more. And also, even though they have
Does France have single payer healthcare?
They do.
Though?
I mean, we have the worst of all systems, right? Where we have ours is not a totally private market system. It's aggressively government run and subsidized at all turns, but it's also confusing, and there's all sorts of price distortion occurring. I mean, this is the difficult thing, right? If you have a system where just an insurance system or a government required insurance system where you're not directly paying the cost of the thing, but later you are in nebulous, confusing ways you don't understand, well, then they have every incentive to raise, you're not going to the doctor and going, what does this service cost?
Right.
You do it, your insurance company pays for it, so both the doctor and the medicine themselves, the people who manufacture it, they can charge whatever they want because it's being paid for by an insurance company and then distributed to all of you. This is the problem with, if you're gonna have a government-run system that's the system, you actually do have to have some level of price setting, or else the incentives just run totally in all the bad ways. If the government is passing the cost on to everyone, well then why wouldn't they just raise the price? This happens with tuition, with education stuff, the same thing. Every college might as well jack up the price every year because people are borrowing money to pay for it and they don't even know what the price is.
Right, and because most people aren't paying $500 out of pocket to buy an inhaler. Usually their insurance company is covering some portion of it, and so that allows prices to go higher because people aren't really feeling the true cost of what these things actually are. They're paying some premium through their insurance company, and then they get a certain amount of things covered by it. But I believe it was under the Trump administration that they passed this law, and I apologize if I'm not giving the Biden administration credit for this, that actually created price transparency in hospitals where they did have to provide you with the true cost of your service before you decided to have it done. And I think that's great. People should be able to see how much things actually cost instead of getting a bill in the mail and then maybe their insurance covers 50% of it and then you're in medical
horrible.
debt. I mean, it is an awful system.
Terrible system.
And, speaking anecdotally, I had to get an EpiPen a few years back because I discovered I was allergic to raw oysters. That was a fun hospital stay.
Oh no, we won't go get oysters then.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I love oysters. That's really a shame.
I know, they were so good. But the EpiPen also costs like $500. But then the pharmacist tells you that if you go on your phone, you can download this coupon that gives you $400 off of the EpiPen, and then you display it to the pharmacist, and then you get your EpiPen for $50 or $100 or however much it costs. And it's like, why not just make it $50 or $100 from the get-go? And it's like you said, there's all of these weird workarounds and bizarre cost-cutting measures, but also pushing up costs through the insurance companies. And then you also have the government-run Medicare system that has been struggling with drug prices as well. The Biden administration repeatedly brags about the fact that they have brought down the cost of insulin for seniors, capped it at $30. But now the premiums through Medicare have gone up as a result of them trying to artificially keep drug costs down. It's really the worst of all worlds.
And with the insulin, that's 100% the result of a patent enforcement, intellectual property enforcement type thing that I don't agree with. If you look at it, it's a government manufactured problem. You should absolutely be able to offer generics to this on the marketplace, and that would bring the cost down. There are market-based things we can do to handle these kinds of problems. Lina Khan type people are totally are allergic to those solutions as if it was you and oysters. We won't do it. I agree with you to a degree on the national security stuff. I understand that China is now a geopolitical rival, and we don't want to be exclusively relying on them for things. That is one argument for having better ability to acquire, to build things and acquire things we need in other parts of the world. Actually, I would argue. I would like to see more, microchip processing plants or whatever it takes built in other parts of the world where there are friendlier governments, developing parts of the world that can benefit from the jobs that creates and the economic development that creates, and then we can trade and have those things enrich our country. But we don't even have I recently learned we don't even have reciprocity with if a drug gets approved in the UK, that doesn't mean it's automatically approved here. I trust
we saw that with the AstraZeneca
UK,
vaccine during COVID.
And nobody, I'm an anti-mandate person. No one should be required to do any of these things or take any of these pharmaceutical products. But if the UK says a pharmaceutical product is safe, I think you should be allowed to take it if you want. Maybe it could just say on it, not approved in the U.S.,
Another
approved in the
good
UK.
Trump legislation, right to try.
Right to try.
That was a good one. I liked that one a lot.
We at Reason Magazine are very in favor of that one.
Yeah.
That does it for us on Free Media today. Please like, share, and subscribe, and you'll get more content from us next week. Have a good one.